There's a certain stillness in the air tonight, a kind of hush that feels heavier than silence should. I'm Marla, 29 years old, and right now, I'm standing in the middle of a life that feels like it's been stitched together with loose threads, threatening to unravel at any moment. I'm not sure when I started noticing the gaps, the little spaces where connection used to be, but they are there, and they ache like a bruise you can't stop pressing. My husband, Clive, is a good man, don't get me wrong. He's a sales rep, always on the move, chasing deals across state lines, sometimes even across the country. He's got a smile that could charm a room full of skeptics, and when he's home, he's all mine. But those moments are fleeting. Days stretch into weeks with just me and the echo of our empty apartment, the sound of my own voice bouncing off the walls as I talk to myself just to hear something other than quiet. I love him, I do, but love can feel like a long-distance call sometimes, full of static and dropped signals. I've been craving anything to fill the void. I think back to simpler times, to people who used to make the world feel less hollow. Lionel pops into my mind more often than I'd admit. We were thick as thieves in college, staying up until dawn with cheap coffee and cheaper laughs, dissecting life like we had all the answers. He had this way of making even the mundane feel like an adventure, like the time we turned a rained-out campus picnic into a scavenger hunt through the library stacks. I haven't seen him in years, not since graduation scattered us like leaves in the wind, but I wonder sometimes what he's up to, if he still laughs with that infectious snort, or if life's worn that out of him too. Right now, though, I'm far from those old memories. I'm in a hotel, an upscale one, the kind where every detail screams money, from the plush carpets that swallow your footsteps to the muted golden lighting that makes everything look softer, almost dreamlike. I'm here for a weekend conference, something about professional development that I signed up for mostly to get out of the house. Clive's away again, of course, somewhere in the Midwest pitching to clients while I'm here, surrounded by luxury that only amplifies how alone I feel. The air in my room feels stale, thick with the weight of my own thoughts, and I can't stand it anymore. There's a hum in the distance, the faint whir of elevators gliding up and down, a reminder that life is moving somewhere, just not for me. I've been pacing, restless, that gnawing emptiness in my chest growing sharper by the minute. It's late, well past the hour when most people are tucked into their overpriced beds, but sleep isn't an option. I need to move to breathe, to shake off this feeling that I'm disappearing into myself. So here I am, stepping out into the long, dimly lit corridor of the hotel, the door to my room clicking shut behind me with a finality that makes my heart jump just a little. The carpet underfoot muffles every step, and the silence out here is almost as oppressive as it was inside, but at least I'm moving. I don't have a destination in mind, just a need to wander, to let the maze of hallways distract me from the tangle of thoughts in my head. My fingers brush against the textured wallpaper as I walk, the coolness grounding me, and I take a deep breath, trying to shake off the weight that's been pressing down on me all night. I turn a corner, passing a row of identical doors, each one hiding its own little world, and that's when I see him. Up ahead, near the ice machine tucked into a small alcove, there's a figure leaning casually against the wall, one shoulder propped up like he's been standing there forever. He's tall, lanky in that familiar way, his head bent over his phone, the blue light casting shadows across his face. My steps slow without me even realizing it, my breath catching in my throat as something clicks in my mind. I know that posture, that easy slouch. My heart skips a beat, a jolt of recognition hitting me like a wave. It's Lionel. I'd know him anywhere, even after all these years, those broad shoulders, the way his hair still falls just a little too long over his forehead. A rush of memories floods in, snapshots of late-night study sessions and stupid pranks, and I can almost hear his laugh before he even looks up. I must have made some kind of sound, a gasp, maybe, because his head lifts and his eyes meet mine. For a split second, there's confusion on his face, and then it clears, replaced by a wide, disbelieving grin that crinkles the corners of his eyes just like it used to. "Marla, is that really you?" His voice is warm, a little deeper than I remember, but still carrying that same playful lilt that could always pull me out of a bad mood. I can't help but laugh, though it comes out nervous and shaky, and I tuck a strand of hair behind my ear, suddenly hyper-aware of how I must look after pacing my room for hours. "Lionel, oh my God, what are you doing here?" I manage, my voice a little higher than usual, betraying the surprise and excitement bubbling up inside me. He pushes off the wall, pocketing his phone, and takes a step closer, that grin never fading. I could ask you the same thing. I'm here for a work thing, some boring seminar, but seeing you, best plot twist of the weekend. We both chuckle, and just like that, we're standing there in the middle of this empty hallway, the flickering light above us casting a soft, stuttering glow over everything. The distant rumble of a housekeeping cart fades into the background as we catch up, words tumbling out like we're racing to fill the years between us. I'm laughing at something Lionel says about his latest work disaster, and for a moment, it's like no time has passed at all. But then, something shifts. The air between us thickens, heavy with a charge I can't quite name at first. His gaze lingers a little too long, and I feel the heat creeping up my neck as I notice how close we've drifted while talking. We're no longer just two old friends reminiscing. There's an undercurrent now, something unspoken but electric, pulling at the edges of every word. Lionel's voice softens as he tilts his head, studying me with an intensity that makes my pulse quicken. You know, Marla, you haven't changed a bit, still got that same spark in your eyes. He pauses, then adds with a small, knowing smile, and that smile of yours, it could still light up any room, even this creepy hallway. I let out a nervous laugh, my fingers fidgeting with the hem of my sleeve, but his words land like tiny sparks, igniting something I've been trying to ignore. I'm flattered, seen in a way I haven't felt in so long, and it's intoxicating. But beneath that thrill, there's a sharp pang of guilt, a reminder of Clive, of the promises I've made. My mind is a battlefield. Part of me wants to lean into this moment, to soak up every bit of attention, while another part screams to step back, to remember who I am and who I'm with. I try to keep my voice steady, to steer us back to safer ground, but I can't ignore the way my breath hitches when Lionel gestures animatedly, his hand brushing against mine. The touch is fleeting, but it sends a jolt through me, warm and unexpected. The corridor, with its endless stretch of doors and dim lighting, suddenly feels smaller, more intimate, like the walls are closing in to trap this moment between us. I can smell the faint cedar of his cologne, hear the slight catch in his voice as he keeps talking, his words now laced with something more than just nostalgia. My heart is racing, and I'm hyper-aware of every detail. The way the flickering light catches the flecks of gold in his eyes, the subtle warmth radiating from where we stand so close. And then it happens. I don't know who moves first, or if it's some unspoken agreement, but suddenly we're closer still, and his hand finds my cheek, gentle but firm. My breath stops as I look into his eyes, seeing a question there and maybe an answer I shouldn't give. But I don't pull away. Instead, I let it happen. A kiss, lingering and forbidden, that sends a rush of adrenaline coursing through me. His lips are softer than I expected, warm and insistent, and for a fleeting second the world narrows to just this. Nothing else matters, not the guilt, not the consequences. It's exhilarating, like stepping off a cliff and feeling the wind before the fall. But just as quickly, reality crashes in. I pull back, my chest heaving, a wave of regret slamming into me so hard I almost stumble. Clive's face flashes in my mind, his trusting smile, the way he always texts me good night no matter where he is. What have I done? I can barely look at Lionel as I stammer out an excuse, my voice shaky and too high. I should get back to my room. It's late and I've got an early session tomorrow. It's a lie, and a flimsy one at that, but I can't think straight. My hands are trembling as I take a step back, trying to put space between us, trying to erase what just happened. Lionel nods, his expression unreadable, a mix of something I can't decipher, regret, maybe, or understanding. "Yay, sure, Marla, get some rest," he says quietly, his voice lacking the playful edge it had moments ago. I mumble a goodbye, barely audible, and turn on my heel, hurrying down the hallway as if my feet can't carry me away fast enough from the weight of what I've just done. My heart is still pounding in my chest, a frantic rhythm that echoes in my ears as I fumble with the keycard to get back into my room. The door clicks open, and I slip inside, leaning against it as it shuts, trying to catch my breath. The silence of the room wraps around me again, but now it feels suffocating, like it's pressing in on all sides, amplifying the guilt that's clawing at my insides. I slide down to the floor, my knees weak, and bury my face in my hands. What was I thinking? How could I let myself cross that line? Clive doesn't deserve this. He's out there, working hard, trusting me, and here I am, betraying that trust in the worst way possible. I can still feel the ghost of Lionel's touch on my cheek, the warmth of that moment, and it makes me sick to my stomach because part of me, some small, selfish part, doesn't regret it as much as I should. The rest of the conference passes in a blur. I avoid the hallways like they're haunted, sticking to crowded spaces, keeping my head down during sessions and skipping the social events. I can't risk running into Lionel again. I don't trust myself. When it's finally time to head home, I'm a bundle of nerves, clutching my suitcase handle like it's a lifeline as I board the train back to our apartment. The city outside the window streaks by in shades of gray, mirroring the storm inside me. I keep replaying that night in the corridor, dissecting every second, wondering how I let it happen, how I let myself get so lost. I need to pull myself together before I see Clive. I have to act normal, like nothing's changed, even though everything feels different now, like I'm carrying a secret that's too heavy to hide but too dangerous to share. When I unlock the door to our apartment, the familiar smell of home hits me, coffee grounds and the faint citrus of the cleaner I used last week. It should be comforting, but instead, it twists the knife of guilt deeper. The kitchen counter is cluttered as always, a mess of unopened mail, a half-empty bag of chips, and a couple of mugs with cold coffee dregs sitting abandoned near the sink. I drop my bag by the door and start tidying up, more to keep my hands busy than anything else. I'm rinsing out one of the mugs when I hear the key turn in the lock. My stomach drops. Clive's home. I plaster on a smile, forcing my voice to sound light as I call out, "Hey, honey, I'm in the kitchen." He steps in, his suitcase trailing behind him, and offers a tired smile. "Hey, Marla, good to be back." His voice is warm, but there's something off about it, a quietness that doesn't match the usual relief he shows after a long trip. I chalk it up to exhaustion. He's been on the road for days, after all. I turn back to the sink, focusing on scrubbing a non-existent stain, avoiding his gaze as he asks about my weekend. "How was the conference? Learn anything useful?" His tone is casual, but my hands falter for a second, the sponge slipping from my grip. I laugh, little too loudly, and shrug. "Oh, same old stuff. Networking, boring talks. Glad it's over." I can feel his eyes on me, and I hate how my cheeks are heating up, how I can't seem to meet his stare. Instead, I busy myself with wiping down the counter, my movements jerky and overdone. Out of the corner of my eye, I see him nod slowly, but he doesn't press further. Instead, he heads to the living room, muttering something about catching up on emails. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding, but the relief is short-lived. There's a tension in the air, a heaviness that wasn't there before, and I can't tell if it's just my guilt projecting or if something's really wrong. That night, I sit on our worn-out couch in the living room, the fabric frayed at the edges from years of use, a silent witness to countless evenings spent together. The room is dimly lit, just a single lamp casting a weak, yellowish glow over everything, leaving the corners shrouded in shadow. I'm trying to focus on the muted hum of the TV, some late-night show I'm not really watching, but my mind keeps spiraling back to that hotel corridor, to the moment I can't undo. My legs are tucked under me, and I'm clutching a throw pillow like it's some kind of shield, my fingers digging into the soft material as if it could absorb the anxiety churning inside me. Clive is in the other room, still on his laptop, and I'm dreading the moment he comes back in here, dreading the possibility that he might see right through me. Then I hear his footsteps, slow and deliberate, echoing down the short hallway. My heart rate spikes, a cold sweat prickling at the back of my neck as he enters the room, his laptop tucked under one arm. He doesn't say anything at first, just sets it down on the coffee table with a quiet thud that feels louder than it should in the stillness. I glance up at him, trying to gauge his mood, but his face is unreadable, a mask of calm that doesn't match the storm I sense brewing beneath it. "Marla, we need to talk," he says finally, his voice low, controlled, each word landing like a stone in the pit of my stomach. I nod, my throat tight, unable to muster a response as I shift on the couch, the springs creaking under me. He sits down across from me, not next to me like he usually would, and that small distance feels like a chasm. Then he opens the laptop, the screen flickering to life, bathing his face in a harsh blue light that makes his features look sharper, almost unfamiliar. My chest tightens as he turns the screen toward me, and I see it, grainy footage of a hotel corridor, the timestamp in the corner marking the exact night I've been trying to forget. There I am, blurry but unmistakable, standing too close to Lionel, our heads bent together in a way that leaves no room for misinterpretation. And then, the kiss, brief but undeniable, captured in low resolution but clear enough to shatter everything. My stomach drops, a sickening lurch that makes me feel like I'm falling, even though I'm rooted to this couch. My mouth goes dry, my tongue sticking to the roof of my mouth as I try to swallow, try to find air. My hands, still clutching the pillow, start to tremble, the shaking so violent I can't hide it. No matter how hard I press my fingers into the fabric, I open my mouth to say something, anything, but no sound comes out at first. My mind is racing, a chaotic mess of panic and desperation, searching for an explanation that doesn't exist. Clive doesn't look away from me, his gaze piercing, and I see it now. The hurt, the raw, unfiltered pain etched into every line of his face. His jaw is tight, a muscle twitching there as if he's holding back a flood of words, and his eyes, usually so warm, are glassy with a betrayal I've never seen before, not in all the years we've been together. It's a look that cuts deeper than any shout could, a silent accusation that makes me feel smaller than I've ever felt. I got access to the security footage, he says, his voice still eerily calm, each syllable measured. And the keycard logs. Timestamps don't lie, Marla. You were on that floor multiple times. Not just once. Multiple. Care to explain that? His words slice through me, sharp and cold, each one a reminder of the evidence I can't escape. I stammer, my voice barely above a whisper, the words tripping over themselves as they spill out. It wasn't what it looks like, Clive. We were just talking, catching up. It was a stupid moment, a mistake, just a second of weakness, I swear. But even as I say it, I know how hollow it sounds, how flimsy my defense is against the undeniable truth staring back at me from that screen. My voice cracks, trailing off into nothing, and I can't bear to meet Clive's eyes anymore. I look down at my hands instead, still trembling, the pillow now a crumpled mess in my lap. The silence that follows is suffocating, thicker than any argument could ever be, and I feel it pressing down on me, making it hard to breathe. I want to say more, to beg for forgiveness, to somehow rewind time and undo everything, but the words won't come. They're stuck somewhere deep inside, tangled up with shame and regret. Days pass after that night, but they don't feel like days at all. Just a slow, endless blur of quiet that hangs over our apartment like a storm cloud that won't break. The silence between us is a living thing now, heavy and unyielding, filling every corner of our home until it feels like the walls themselves are holding their breath. Clive doesn't sleep in our bed anymore. I find him on the couch each morning, a thin blanket draped over him, his face turned away from the bedroom door as if even in sleep he can't bear to be near me. I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to be near me either. We barely speak, our conversations reduced to the bare minimum. Logistics about bills, groceries, who's taking out the trash. His responses are clipped, mechanical, like he's reading from a script he doesn't care about. Got it, he'll say, or fine, and each word feels like a door slamming shut between us. I've tried to apologize, more times than I can count. I've stood in the kitchen while he's making coffee, my hands twisting nervously at my sides, and poured out my heart in halting, desperate sentences. I've told him how sorry I am, how I never meant to hurt him, how that moment with Lionel was a lapse in judgment I'll regret for the rest of my life. But every attempt ends the same way, with him looking right through me, his expression distant, like he's somewhere else entirely. Sometimes he nods, a small, tight gesture that feels more like dismissal than acknowledgement. Other times he just says, "I'm not ready, Marla," his voice flat, and turns away. I'm left standing there, the weight of my own words echoing back at me, unanswered, unresolved. It's like I'm shouting into a void, and the harder I try to reach him, the farther he slips away. The loneliness I felt before, when Clive was away on his trips, was nothing compared to this. Back then, it was just the absence of him, the empty space where his laughter and warmth used to be. But now, it's worse. It's the absence of us. It's knowing he's right there, just a few feet away, but feeling like there's an ocean between us, when I don't know how to cross. It's not just his physical distance that cuts me. It's the trust we've lost, the foundation that's been cracked right down the middle. I can see it in the way he avoids my gaze, in the way he flinches if I accidentally brush past him in the hallway. That trust was something we built over years, through late-night talks and shared dreams, through the little mundane moments that make a life together. And I shattered it in a single, reckless instant. I keep replaying that night in the hotel, over and over, like a broken record I can't turn off. I told myself it was just a chat, just a harmless catch-up with an old friend, but deep down I knew it wasn't. I knew there was a line, and I stepped over it anyway, chasing a fleeting thrill to fill the emptiness I felt. That excuse I clung to. It crumbles every time I think about that security footage. Technology doesn't lie, even when I do. It captured everything, stripped away my denials, and laid bare the mistake I made in grainy, unforgiving detail. There's no hiding from it, no pretending it didn't happen. Every time I close my eyes, I see the truth staring back at me, demanding that I finally confront the consequences of my actions. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.